to just make things cool, make things awesome, and then, get kicked out. So I'm really happy for what you're doing. And yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it. I love how artists are being, just rewarded more and celebrated more. I think artists are naturally systems thinkers. They see across disciplines and they're able to illuminate different, versions of reality now, but also really importantly, the future, right? We have so much kind of disaster porn around us, doom scrolling. What degree of awful is the future going to be? And so many of these artists that we get to work with are exploring, to what degree of amazing could it all work out to be? And it's so critical, just, neurologically, to be able to imagine that which you want to create so that you can move in steps in that direction. And I see you both doing that, imagining and telling a story of the future that's very different than a lot of the media that's being told. Yeah. What are some of your visions of the future if it all works out more beautifully than we could imagine?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like the idea that the contribution of every individual can be valued beyond currency itself, instead of commodifying it and turning it into some sort of commercial asset, and actually just value the thing for what it is. And that's what we're doing here in Texas, looking to build a community where we take money off the table. We're not looking to exploit each other or make a buck off of each other, but really more to just continue to contribute collectively to prop up and support nature itself through all the different values and talents that the community will bring to the table, as varied and diverse as they are. So that our mission really is to support nature and whatever that looks like. And then if you don't translate it to money and no one's like extracting that from the community, in theory, the vision is that it'll just continue to become more beautiful, more bountiful, and more diverse, and more healthy and resilient, and a model for what's possible.
Love that.
I mean, this is really a very unique opportunity where I think we have to rewild ourselves. And when Deepak talks about mental well-being, it's, the outcomes of what we're seeing in the world, the pollution and raping of our oceans and, all the indigenous lands and everything that we're doing is just a symptom of how sick we are as human beings and really how we need to get into right action. And what is encouraging to me is, Adrian, when you talk about your land project and eliminating money out of it, and I'm seeing so many regenerative projects, not only in the urban space, but in the eco-village space and, permaculture space and all these concepts, which are basically ancient wisdom that's just reoccurring and repeating itself now, which is all indigenous wisdom that's coming back up that we're kind of re-embracing. And we need to go through this kind of personal rewilding and mental health journey that we have a lot of tools now between meditation and breath work, etc., so that we can be right, because what's reflected outside is only a reflection of what's happening inside in all of us with this technological hamster wheel that we're all on, and kind of all these distractions and that take us out of the moment and being present for one another. Really beautiful. And what I'm encouraged by is, the youth and the millennials that are really, they won't stand for, the lies and the irresponsible leadership of our politicians and our leaders and our corporate leaders. I saw this on the front lines at COP26 with Greta Thunberg and the artists and the indigenous voices. And then there's the whole psychedelic movement for mental well-being. So I see all these parallel movements kind of converging, and that's what gives me hope, and it really is the artists and the innovators and the musicians that lead these cultural revolutions. And that's what we need right now. We're coming out of a dark period. And so I think this is a really good moment for the Regeneration, and my best place for us to all meet and celebrate with the beautiful environment. If you look around, Miami is surrounded by a national park, and people pollute it, they abuse it, they don't respect it because they think they're in a city. And it's like, no, this is our backyard. This is Mother Earth. We need to take care of it, and we need to hold people responsible who aren't. And it's back to all of us negatively if we allow these things to happen. So It's really exciting to have you guys in Miami and really having this conversation. And Art Basel, which is usually all around high-end art and fancy Vanity Fair parties and a lot of exclusivity, this is a whole different approach to sustainability, regeneration, inclusivity. We're in a Haitian underserved neighborhood in Magic City Innovation District in Little Haiti, which was my first vision of a City of the Future project that I started 15 years ago. So it's really a beautiful kind of cultural tapestry in this Caribbean diaspora that we're going to be able to bring in and include as a platform, your typical Miami Beach or Brickell, et cetera. So I think it's all the pieces are coming together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really beautiful. One of my favorite stories of regeneration is when you plant enough plants and say wildflowers on a garden, you could plant maybe 10 different species and another 10, a total of 20 will come up because there's seeds lying dormant in the soil. And I love that image of like, what is it in all of us as individuals, as communities, that's lying dormant, that's just waiting for the right conditions, the right, equivalent of hydration and shade and everything that the seed needs in order to decide to pop. What is that in all of us? Once we feel safe enough, once we feel like there's room for creativity, what is it in all of our communities that will spontaneously regenerate in the coming years? I'm seeing in the comments, people are feeling optimistic. And I think that optimism is not just contagious, but self-fulfilling. So would love to seed more of that and get that idea of this dormant potential that's just waiting to sprout, get that kind of inoculated into people's minds and hearts. What does that bring up, Adrian?
Well, firsthand, I've had the luxury, and I grew up in New York, right? So like concrete jungle straight up. Yeah. And, when I thought of trees, I thought upstate New York. Even if it was Connecticut, it was upstate New York, Jersey, upstate New York. But now, every day I walk outside and I'm just bombarded with new life, so much coming up. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next day, gives you something brand new to grapple with. So I'm really in the permaculture first principle of just observing and interacting and being present for what is and learning from that. Because like you said, and when I first started gardening, when I first started planting seeds, I was like, oh my God, these tomatoes, they're so tiny. Like where are these, cucumber seeds are so small. And it's hard to keep track of. And then you realize, it doesn't take a lot. Like there's so much information within each seed. And, technically, like you said, there's so much life waiting to happen underground, given the right conditions. Mm-hmm. So I'm really just in a state of taking notes, learning, so much diversity, so much life, and just really humbled by that. And just also just like a child, like just so excited to see what's next, what comes up from the ground, and just making a whole lot of mistakes.
Yeah. Buckminster Fuller. There's a mystique around mistakes that enable you. He also said you can't learn less, you can only learn more. But I think the point you just made about diversity is so key. And I think sometimes the regenerative movement gets kind of stuck in carbon sequestration and balancing the carbon cycle, which is absolutely critical, of course, and the diversity of biodiversity, but also ethnodiversity, and making sure that we're celebrating and uplifting indigenous and ancient wisdom traditions, and just across, class and race and all sorts of diversity in our cities and in all of our environments. How can we really make this movement be a tide that lifts all boats, and look at the class struggle elements of regenerative agriculture, and not just, as Buckminster Fuller said, you can't change things by fighting the existing reality, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete, right? And so what is the entirely new model that we can work on, not just kind of greenwashing and adding a little candy coated, carbon farming to the current broken model, but really how can we reimagine the whole system? And I think we have the creativity, and bringing the artist to the table is really what it takes. I'm so excited for our time together.
And I agree. I feel like there's been, particularly in the conventional environmental movement, there's been a lot of focus on tearing down the old system. But I really encourage people to put their energy towards being a laboratory for what's possible. Go out there and build something, make something, and back to like the creative class. Like we are all like that seed. We all have the potential to be creative and manifest something. And we need more manifestation. We need more creation. We need more experimentation, more mistakes, more mistakes. And the ideas of the future will pop up, and they'll start to grow, and we won't have to worry about tearing down the existing paradigm. It'll just get overtaken by new life.
And I think it's really also balancing ancient technology with future technology, and really approach technology that works for 100% of life and for humans, and not being ruled by this dystopian future ideology of a robot world. And I think for me, the future of cities was birthed at my spiritual and nature sanctuary, which is Chosen Retreat, which Amanda has spent time there, and we've had some really amazing gatherings, which is my living laboratory in nature on a nature preserve next to the intentional community that my grandmother started in the 70s. And so it's the intersection of community and nature and permaculture, and really rewilding our own spirits and hearts so that we can bring this idea of rewilding into the city, because that's the only way that we're all finding solace in being in nature. And so how do we reconnect with that nature vibe in cities through biophilic design and bringing in these concepts and VR and all the technology? Let's use it instead of having, fighting games and all of these, video games that are violent. Let's figure out a way to bring in this technology for good to make us healthier and happier. And so that's a big component in my view of rewilding and reimagining and making cities not just smart cities, but wise cities that can co-evolve as the environment and as the people and the culture co-evolves with it, and that's responsive. And we have all the solutions. We have the technology. From Albert Einstein to Bucky Fuller, we knew it. We're just investing in the wrong paradigms and in the old paradigms that need to be disrupted. And the activists like you, Adrian, and the thinkers and the system thinkers like you, Amanda, is what's going to really accelerate this transition to a regenerative future. And we're so excited to be holding this space in Miami during Art Basel for the Regeneration in Little Haiti at Magic City. And there's going to be over 200 artists and incredible speakers and really inspiring talks and an immersive dinner and an after party and 3 days of a lot of yumminess happening in Miami. That's very different than what you'll normally find in Miami during an Art Basel experience. Certainly all the sexiness and fun, but then with a purpose and with an impact focused and an impact lens and purpose of why we're creating art and why we're having these talks, and what is the purpose, and really to accelerate this transition as quickly as possible.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I love it. Well, I think we're going to wrap up here soon. Adrian, do you have some final words of inspiration, encouragement, invitation?
No, I'm excited to see you all down there in Miami. It's been a while since I've been to Basel, and so yeah, that's all. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, really looking forward to having you all there in person or online. We have incredible content for 2 days streaming and lots of things in person to dive deep into these concepts. And also, please be sure to follow Bucky Fuller Institute and Future of Cities and Adrian on our accounts to continue to learn more and become a member of our organizations. And there's a lot more to learn, a lot more to do. And yeah, really excited to bring in, as you said, the creative class into this time, really as the leaders, the kind of Gandhi of this moment that can bring us out of the dark and into the Regeneration. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And thank you, Amanda. Much love. See you in Miami.
Yeah.
Take care.
We start on Tuesday. We'll see you all there.
Bye.
Bye.